Hi everyone, and welcome back to Edo's BackStage. I told you I was coming back soon, didn't I? So, 2020. Do we want to talk about it? I know, this past year was a very difficult one. A year that we will remember for a long, long time, and that, in one way or another, will go down in history. A year that, paraphrasing theories and abstractions of the ancient Greek philosophers, some could define as a shitty year. But I don't want to remember it like this, or at least I don't want to remember it only like this. Because in the end, in this 2020, I managed to achieve some important milestones in my life. I got married. I finally released my first single, which I'm very proud of, and I will put the link below in the description box. It's good, have a listen. I have been to Japan for the first time. And lots of things, important things, happen because this virus has changed the course of our lives and has created a new reality, a new normal, which we had to learn to deal with. For example, this forced break for the entertainment industry revealed how necessary it was to completely redesign some aspects, indeed many aspects that characterized our jobs. Likewise, in many other areas it was made clear that reality as it was based on nothing. Therefore, this break was an opportunity to put things in order and restart with some priorities in the right place. However, we must also be ready to catch these opportunities. This video is not meant to be the usual little lesson, always look on the bright side. During this time, there are people who have lost their loved ones. I truly understand that. In those particular cases, there is no bright side. There is no different perspective, nothing else to focus on, if not how much those people they have lost will be missed. To these people I pay all my respects, all my understanding, and I wouldn't feel like telling them anything except that my thoughts are with them and that I am terribly sorry. But for all the people who, like me, have been more fortunate and have not experienced any drama, I would like to encourage a reflection, because precisely in a situation like this, important and unique opportunities are created. And if these opportunities arise and we manage to seize them, if we manage to reinvent ourselves, rethink the way we do certain things in our life, surely we will draw some good even from a situation like a pandemic. Anyway, we're not here for the life lesson. This is just an idea, an invitation. In this video, I want to tell you what happened to us, what happened to me in this 2020. It was supposed to be a spectacular year. We had more than 150 concerts planned all over the world, spread over 2 different tours. For logistic reasons, we wouldn't have been able to bring the new show to Japan and then fly directly to America. It would have been too risky, very expensive, and also difficult to manage. So the decision was made to extend the 2019 tour, 40 Years of the Wall, using the old setup and the old set list for the dates in Japan. Then from Tokyo we would fly directly to America to do a week of pre-production in Pittsburgh for the 2020 show and start from there with 2 nights in a row in the same venue, getting familiar with the new setup, the new layout, the new songs. The year had started off great for me. In January, I was called in for the Classic Rock Show as an external point of view, and I went to Liverpool to help the band with their pre-production and so we spent some time in the studio, arranging, programming. It was a great experience, which I enjoyed, and which I also learned a lot from. Straight after that, Rumours of Fleetwood Mac, the official Fleetwood Mac tribute band, asked me to help with the guitar sounds since they switched to a digital setup with the Axe-FX 3. So I started studying their repertoire. I started programming quite a lot of sounds because there must have been about 70, let's say 35 sounds each. And this was quite an important job for me. Time consuming but interesting because it gave me the opportunity to explore a lot more with the Axe-FX and with the new firmware. So if you happen to go and see them, and if you can go because they really are awesome, be aware that in the guitar sounds there is, let's say, a little bit of my touch. After that was done, it was time to finally start working on the materials for the Brit Floyd tour. So the new set list, the new parts, and more sounds. And I promise I will soon produce a new video on how I usually prepare for the tour, so you can understand how many aspects must be taken care of, how much work there is behind it, and how crazy is the level of detail we have to deal with. We left again for Liverpool for rehearsals, and at that time the coronavirus was already a thing in England. It was starting to produce the first victims, and it was all over in the news. So from that moment we started traveling with hand sanitizer, and we started avoiding going out, so we tried to limit contact with the outside world as much as we could to protect the tour bubble. We get through our sessions focusing for the first few days on the new repertoire, and then the last day on the 2019 material, because that was what we were going to play in Japan. But not only that, during the week we also focused on some improvements that we decided to bring on our backline, because we have put together a brand new rig for the keyboards, because we decided to start using some new plugins and a new system, and that part kept me very busy. And this got nothing to do with programming, because I wouldn't have the slightest idea where to start. But given my experience with racks, pedals, cables and all, I felt I could have been able to create, let's say, an efficient system for the keyboards, and so I took the task myself. We also did a hearing test, which I actually get done on a regular basis every 6 months after every tour, but this time we all did it as a band, as a production, and that was something different to do together. So we leave for Japan, and this is the end of February. The first show, if I'm not mistaken, was on the 25th, so we would have left on the 18th, 20th. To have a few days to adapt to the jet lag, to do a little pre-production on site, and to be able to have a look around, since it was the first time in Japan for most of us, and we enjoyed a little tourism. But of course, dealing with the coronavirus situation, which had now broken out and was starting to spread around Italy too. In fact, when we left for Liverpool in the UK, they had more cases than in Italy. But when we went to Japan, it was the opposite. Indeed, I probably managed to enter Japan because I had spent 2 weeks in the UK before embarking on the trip to Tokyo, since the world was starting to close borders to Italian passports. We arrive in Tokyo to a strange situation, at least strange for me as an Italian, because there was clearly a very high alert for the virus, but everything seemed to be under control. I mean, everything was working efficiently and perfectly, and we've also noticed that everyone was wearing a mask. There was no obligation to wear it, so we could decide what to do, but the locals wore it anytime, anywhere, indoor, outdoor. Now, frankly, we did not feel in danger. Back in February, there wasn't the awareness about masks that there is today, so basically we didn't use it except in very rare cases when we were around many people. But on the other hand, we avoided taking trains, public transportation, and basically moved only on foot or without drivers. The gig was a weird experience too. Seeing the whole audience with their faces covered in masks, it was quite surreal. You know, they were a really great crowd, they had a great time, so after a while we kind of stopped noticing it, but at first the impact was strange. Anyway, we enjoyed an amazing experience, an incredible place. Very clean, organized, very tidy. Although we stayed only for a few days, we fell in love with the place and we can't wait to have a chance to return and have more time and freedom. Okay, from Tokyo we flew to America, where the virus existed only in newspapers, because as soon as we set foot on American soil we kind of forgot about masks. And this in reality didn't make us feel very comfortable, because whoever goes on tour knows this. If one of us gets sick, whether band or crew, then everyone else gets sick. Because we're traveling by bus, we're sharing spaces, and it's one thing to catch the flu, but this was another story. Plus, in America, the public is very warm, they want to touch you, hug you, they come close and take a selfie, they speak very loud because they get excited, and usually this is amazing, but during a pandemic, these are all behaviors that put you a little on edge. Well, you know, we didn't want to get sick, but we didn't want to be a transmission vehicle either. So we had to suspend the autograph sessions after the concert, and we tried to manage the meet and greet as best as we could, asking people not to touch us, not to get too close, which actually didn't work very well. In America, as mentioned, we had the new production with the much larger circle, many more lights, and the new set list. We start with the tour, we do 7-8 dates, and among other things I was just starting to get used to my new tasks, because in a couple of songs I was supposed to sing the lead vocals, which actually requires a bit of time to adapt and to take a bit of confidence. Except that the day before the Kingston concert, where Tony Levin was supposed to come and say hi, by the way, and I was looking forward to meet him. As I was saying, the day before the Kingston concert, the tour manager calls us as the exact moment that I was entering the whirlpool, because it was a day off, and she tells us, guys, pack your bags, tomorrow we're going home. We all expected it a little bit, but not so soon. In any case, being that Italy was in a huge crisis, there was no way to find a flight for Pisa. So Eva and myself decided to go to her family's in Canada, where the situation was less complicated. However, we decided to do 14 days of strict quarantine, because, you know, having travelled, having been in contact with so many people, we didn't even want to put her family at risk. So her mother very kindly left us her house, and she went to stay with her mother. During these 14 days, apart from a very mild cough that I had and a little bit of fatigue, we were both fine. So after 14 days, her mother came home. We thought we were going to stay there for another couple of weeks, and then we thought that gradually things would return to normal. So we would either go back to Italy or go back on tour. Instead, we stayed in Canada for 3 months. I was starting to get worried with my visa, which lasts 90 days. Here in Italy, the situation took a long time to improve, but above all, since Eva is not an Italian citizen or resident, she wasn't even allowed to enter. We've asked the consulates for help, border police, embassies, nobody could tell us much. In the end, we decided that it would have been much easier to anticipate the wedding, which we were planning for 2021. So immediately after getting married, thanks to the consulate, we managed to return to Italy, finally. It was a very difficult time, it was very stressful. Not so much for the situation in Canada, because I was fine there. The emergency was less overwhelming than here, and we could go out, we could go for walks, we also saw friends, relatives, but knowing my country was on its knees, seeing those awful images on the news, was terrible, and I really needed to go home and live those moments with my people, with my country. But I couldn't just leave Eva there during a pandemic, so I prefer to stay and settle the matter once and for all. During my stay in Canada, I had a lot of time on my hands, so I started working on some unpublished material, and I managed to put together a portable music studio on which, if you are interested, I will make a dedicated video, because I have reached a very good level of quality on a very tight budget. And so now I have lots of new material to work on, and new singles will be out soon. When we finally returned to Italy at the end of May, the situation had improved a lot, so we were able to spend a few weeks on vacation, going out with friends, exercising. And when in October the government started telling us that they would put us in lockdown again, it was not so terrible for us. This lockdown confirmed that we work very well as a couple. We got along very well, we supported each other, and this is another thing for which I cannot hate 2020 regardless. Then in December, on top of that, I even had a concert since I replaced Pete Thorne in Liverpool for the classic rock show Christmas edition with an audience. So I really felt ultra lucky for that as well. And I will also tell you about that because it was fun and there is a lot to tell. So you see, in the end, despite these lockdowns in 2020, at least for me, a lot of things happened that probably wouldn't have happened if it had been just another regular year. Let's try to use this year as a lesson to appreciate what we have in life. A job, a family member, a friend who is there today but we don't know tomorrow. I personally will never complain again that my dressing room does not have a shower, I swear. As long as there is someone to play music for and to play with. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of this video. Starting next time we'll be back to be very technical, and it will be very soon, I promise. Goodbye and see you next time on Edo's Backstage.